Okay, lesson 4.2, multiplying decimals and whole numbers. Today we're going to be using a model to multiply a whole number and a decimal. You will probably want colored pencils for this, at least 2 different colors. Giant tortoises move very slowly. They can travel a distance of about 17/100ths of a mile in 1 hour. If it travels at the same speed, how far could a giant tortoise move in 4 hours? Just so you know, that's about how fast I move when I am out running and training and all that. So that's about how fast they are. The first thing that we need to know is how many miles, or what we need to find out is how many miles we have in 4 groups of 17/100ths of a mile. Okay, the expression for this problem is going to be 4 times 17/100ths, and we are going to be using a decimal model to find the answer. Okay, to do that, we need to remember a few things. First of all, that when we are looking at this right here as a decimal model, this box right here, that is 1 whole. Each of the columns are a 10th, and then each of the individual boxes inside those are each 1/100th. So we are going to kind of use this model to draw out 4 times 17/100ths. So with one of my colors, it's going to look like this. 17, there's 10, and then coloring in, so I have 17 in that color. I'm going to switch colors. And I'm going to show 17/100ths, another group of them. I'm just going to continue on though. So here's 3/10ths. If I fill in this, that's 13/100ths. Sorry, I said 3/10ths before. I meant 3/100ths right here. This is 13/100ths. And then 14, 15, 16, 17/100ths. I'm going to switch colors again. I'm going to use a third color. You can just use 2 though, that's fine. And I'm going to show my third group of 17/100ths. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe. Here's another 10, so that's 16/100ths, and then one more, 17/100ths. And then I'm going to switch colors to show my last group of 17/100ths. So that's 9, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17/100ths. So there's my 4 groups of 17/100ths. 4 groups, because of this right here, I'm looking at 4 hours, so 4 groups. And then 17/100ths, how fast they can travel in an hour, 17/100ths of a mile. Each of these groups are shown right here. Here's my red is one group of 17/100ths. My blue is another group of 17/100ths. My black is another group of 17/100ths. And then my red again is that 4th group of 17/100ths. So when I'm looking at this, how many squares are shaded in? I have 68 squares that are shaded in. I have, if I want to think about it as decimals, which I should probably do that, I've got 6/10ths. Each of those columns, that's a 10th, so that's 6/10ths. And then I have right here 8 more hundredths, so 68/100ths. So in 4 hours, the giant tortoise can move 68/100ths of a mile. Not very far, maybe even a little faster than me when I'm out running and training. Next, we want to think about how 4 times 17/100ths is similar to 4 times 17. Go ahead and pause here. Think about that for a few minutes. Jot down a few ideas. Press play when you're ready to come back. One way that these are similar is that they have the same digits in them. 4 times 17/100ths is 68/100ths. 4 times 17 is 68. So we have those same digits in there. So that's one way that they're similar. How they're different, go ahead and press pause. Think about how those factors and products are different. Press play when you're ready to come back. One big way that they are different is the decimal placement. Just going to jot that down really quick. Decimal placement. Okay, for example, on 68 hundredths, got our decimal here, decimal right there. 68, our decimal would be here, but looking at the factors, we also have that going on also. 17 hundredths compared to just 17. 68 hundredths compared to just 68. Next, compare the product of 17 hundredths times 4 to each of the factors. Which number has the greatest value? How is this different than multiplying two whole numbers together? Go ahead and press pause. Think about that for a few moments. Jot down some ideas. Press play when you're ready to come back. Okay, as far as the number with the greatest value, that would be 4. Whoops, that would be 4. That one has the greatest value. Think about this, how this is different from multiplying two whole numbers. When we are multiplying our factors like this together, 17 hundredths times 4, 68 hundredths, we're used to seeing numbers where our product is bigger than both of our factors. So that's one way that is different when we're multiplying decimals, is that this is not always going to be greater than both factors. I'm just going to jot that down. Not always, oops, messy handwriting, not always greater than the factors. Think about if we are doing 4 times 17 equals 68. That is going to be larger than the factors. Again, sorry, my handwriting is messy. Larger than the factors when we're dealing with whole numbers. But when we're dealing with decimals, that decimal right here often is going to make this be less. Not even often, all the time. It's going to make this be less. Particularly if we have 0 in the wholes, in the ones place. Let's try another method now. We are going to try a quick picture to solve these multiplication problems with decimals. So we're going to show this using 3 times 46 hundredths. I'm going to show basically 46 hundredths 3 times. So I'm going to start with my tenths. I have 4 in the tenths. Remember, each of my sticks is a tenth. And then I'm going to show 6 hundredths. I'm going to try to stay organized with that. So notice I did 5 hundredths and then my 6. I started another column. I'm going to show my 46 hundredths 3 times for 3 times 46 hundredths. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then one more time, 4 tenths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now next we're going to group together. I'm going to change colors to do this. It might be a good idea for you to do that also, just so we can see where our groups are. Okay. So for example, I'm going to start with my smallest, kind of like we do when we're adding, just with our numbers. I'm going to start with my hundredths. Here's a group of 6, and then 4 more. That is a tenth. And then that leaves me with 6 down here, 7, 8. So I've got 8 hundredths. Okay. Now this right here is counting now as one of my tenths. I'm going to group my tenths together next. So I've got 4 up here. I'm going to go ahead and count this one in. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 right there. So I'm going to group all those together. So that becomes a 1 whole. So here's my 1 whole. And then right in here, I've got 1, 2, 3 tenths left. So 1 38 hundredths. Okay, this strategy reminds me a lot of if we were adding 46 hundredths together. 3 times, like that. It reminds me a lot of that strategy where I'm adding together my hundredths first. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. And then I write down my 8, carry my 1. This is kind of like showing this is my 8 here. The 1 is like that I grouped together. And then add my next column, and that is 13. I had one more, and then there's my 1. So it reminds me a lot of that strategy where I'm grouping them together. It is very visual. It's not very efficient, but it is very visual in showing what we're doing. Okay, it is time for you to practice. We're going to practice using decimal models here, and then on the last page we have the quick pictures, just to give those a try. So go ahead and work on those. Press pause here, give it some work, and then come back when you're ready to check your work. Okay, on our models, 5 times 600ths is 3/10. Notice right here I've got each of my groups. I use 3 different colors just to help us see it a little bit better. Each of those is showing 6/10. Sorry, each of those is showing 600ths, and then altogether that is 3/10. If you wrote 30 hundredths, that would be just fine also. And then on my next one, 4 times 24 hundredths. I end up with 96 hundredths. Again, each of these colors representing a group of 24 hundredths. Okay, remember we can show them just like, don't do this, but we can show it just like this. But that doesn't help us kind of see it, that doesn't help us see it as a group like this. So we want to be showing these so that we can see at the end how much that we have. Okay, and then using our quick picture method, 2 times 67 hundredths, we show the 67 hundredths right here and right here. Show that twice, and then I'm showing a group together. I've got 4 hundredths left. I've got 3/10, and then 1 whole. So 1 and 34 hundredths. And then on my next one, 4 times 32 hundredths, I've got my 8 hundredths here. I've got 2/10, and then right here I've got 10/10, so that makes 1 whole. So 1 and 28 hundredths. Okay, please mark your understanding and then write something to share with the class tomorrow.